You said you had a moment where you kind of like extended your arms and you felt like, I don't know, all the energy and power from everyone in the world and coming to you. And can you talk about that? Because I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the great irony, I think, the great irony, people say, God, you must have felt so alone out there. So, I mean, in truth, I was probably one of the most isolated, if not the most isolated individual on the entire planet. Yeah. A lot of 54 days completely alone. I guess Lou's out there somewhere, but I can't see him, and like I'm just alone in this endless white landscape. The ironic thing that happened to me is that I felt these moments of complete connectedness and clarity. And there were several moments, including on that last day when I was connected in that really big push, where in these dark moments or these low moments or whatever, I would actually stand out there in the middle of Antarctica. If you were watching me, you'd probably look like some crazy person. But I'd stand there and I'd extend my arms outreached like this, completely outstretched. And in that moment, I could just feel this power of what I would say, infinite love, infinite love, infinite love, or this connectedness. I'm not a particularly traditionally religious person, but it was a connectedness to the energy of people, the universe, whatever you want to call that, filling me with energy. All of these people that were out there cheering me on, supporting me, loving me, my family, my wife, the students across the world, ultimately there was millions of people, I guess, watching this project, which I wasn't super aware of at the time, but just in this just really tangible way, I could feel this positive energy coming into me, and I would actually fill my body up with it, and I would actually hold it in, like I would just like almost like visually like arms out, and I'd like this, and then I'd want to send it back out in the world, and I just like whoosh, sending it back out into the world. And sending back out love and gratitude. And even Lou, who had been obviously an adversary and a competitor of mine, I started sending that back to him at sort of a daily practice of just gratitude and love for his safe passage and things like that. And it's this weird thing, like I said, I was so alone, but I started to feel, and I've shared this version of the story in rooms, here we're in London, big city right now, or in New York City, and sat with friends or various speaking engagements I do, and I'd say, okay, like you guys all live in London, or you all live in New York City, like, raise your hand if you know the name of the person you share a wall with in your apartment building. And also, people are like, well, I don't know the name of the guy I live next to, right? Like, well, when's the last time you spoke to somebody in an elevator going up in an office tower? And people are like, well, I always just look at the ground. Or what about when you ride the subway or the underground? Like, are you talking to people, or are you on your phone, like staring at your phone or whatever, this? And the irony is that in these massive cities, you can be physically surrounded by humanity, literally millions of people, yet feel completely isolated, completely alone, right? Whereas I was in the physical space, the most alone person on the planet, yet I felt more connected to humanity, to love, to community, to compassion, to empathy of the world in this moment of infinite love, for lack of a better word, and that was probably the most beautiful thing I experienced out there.
Wow. Maybe worth the whole thing just for that moment?
100%.
What was the response after you did this? You're coming back home. What kind of surprised you? What was good and bad from the response from the world from all this?
As we talked at the top of the hour, it was always Jen and I's intention to share these stories with the world, and we've done that with our other projects. We certainly couldn't have anticipated the reaction, to this project, and I was more or less, in my own little bubble, and Jenna kept me hidden from all of this. She wasn't like, oh, by the way, you're on the front page of the New York Times again, or I had no idea about any of this. Right. I just didn't know that was happening.
Everybody was tracking you guys in real time and talking about it,
yeah,
right?
And so I had these trackers, and they were out in real time, and then Nat Geo, and then the New York Times built these trackers of people with this, and it just became this big thing. Ultimately, I guess I've been told there was somewhere around 2 billion media impressions around this entire project, which is, by far the most, sort of media viewed expedition in modern history by a long shot. Wow. I get back, I finally, I finish, I wait those couple of days for Lou. We share that moment there, and we finally, fly back, to...
What did Lou say?
What did Lou say when he finished? He said, he was gracious. He was like, wow, you did it. You were first. Congratulations. But then it's sort of a backhanded, and I wouldn't say backhanded compliment, but he was like, I wasn't that worried about the race the whole time because I just figured Antarctica was going to take care of you at some point, given your lack of experience. So it's kind of a nice way of saying, like, somehow you didn't die out here, kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally had coffee with him this morning. It's the first time I've seen him since we had finished the project, and it was really great to see him. Out of 7 billion people on the planet, he's the one other person that has experienced, this specific thing. And it would be a shame if, despite the competition, of course, he wanted to be first, and I'm proud to be first, whatever. Like, what he did is extraordinary. There's 2 people on the planet who have ever done this, and I have the utmost respect and love for him. And it's just fun that we can remain, great friends and talk about this in a way that we both, are speaking the same language to one another, what it likes to be out there. But, we get back, kind of a funny story, but I finally rekindled with Jenna in Punta Arenas, which is southern Chile, which is, where I left from Antarctica. It's like the closest place to fly from. Right. And, finally get to see Jenna again, which of course is amazing. And we rekindle, jump into each other's arms. And this success, and like I said, is so much her success as well. It's really her dream as much as it is mine. And kind of it's amazing to see her. And she finally says, she's like, oh God, you must be so excited to like go home and sleep in our bed. And she had gotten a puppy when we were away and meet our new puppy. Just like the creature comforts of home. She must be excited. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait. And she's like, well, we're not going home. And I was like, what? She's like, tomorrow we're flying to Manhattan and you're going to be on the Today Show. Oh and she kind of just opens this door of like, she kind of has to tell me at this point, because she's been shielding me from this for the moment. I realize there's some interviews and some articles and things like that, which we've done in previous things, but sort of the magnitude of the interest globally in this entire project. And it's both, your question was about, what have been good and maybe some of the negative things or whatever, both. It's a yin and a yang, which is incredibly humbled by the reception and incredibly proud of it, because ultimately, like I said, to be able to share stories broadly, my hope is in the people that reach out to me, but even the people I never hear from, of how my tiny little story may have touched them and pushed them towards whatever it is in their life. Like that is a lot, in a sense, my purpose and what I'm proud of. And so for the fact that to be viral in this sense, in the way it was, is amazing. That said, you've been alone in a tent for, nearly 2 months, completely alone, not talking to anybody. And then like one day later, you're sitting under the bright lights of the Today Show on live television, broadcast, whatever. And Hoda and Savannah are like trying the Colin bar and like whatever. Like it's a lot. And like, it's a lot. But it's ultimately been a really beautiful thing. And it certainly is an adjustment to, sort of take all of that in and react to it and all the sort of, ancillary things that come with all that level of recognition and thing, but it's been ultimately extraordinarily humbling and yeah.